Yeah. Have you ever wanted a theme song? Good morning, Mary. How are you? Thank you for showing up. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, July 20th. Good morning. I appreciate you showing up. This is Bookeemonsters, where we do a little coffee break in the morning, talk about books. Not enough people talk about books. I think everybody should talk about books first thing in the morning. So I'm here to help that. Let's do it. Uh, Thank you for finding my channel, Bookeemonsters. It is going fast. I tell ya. We'll take that down. I've always, like I mentioned, I always thought if I'd have a opening song, that would be it. I think that has such attitude. I like that. Um, who I am PK. I have been calling myself PK the Bookie Monster since about 1999. I have been part of an online group that started in 1999, and we were all choosing nicknames, and I chose that nickname because I voraciously read books, just like the Cookie Monster. So I'm the Bookie Monster. And together as a group, we are Bookie Monsters. I am coming to you from Billings, Montana. It's kind of smoky out, but not too bad from fires. We usually have a very smoky summer. We've had a pretty good one so far this year. Um, why am I doing this in the morning? Good question. I am a morning person. I'm one of those disgusting morning people. I know. I wake up singing songs and little birds. No, they don't. But really, I that's when my energy is the highest, and I have to take advantage of that. I by the late afternoon and evenings, I am just drained of dealing with people and absorbing all their energies and whether it's good or bad, but I'm like a cup and I just fill in all these energies, and by the end of the day I just have a full cup. So in the mornings, the after sleeping, I have empty cups. I'm ready to take on the world. So mornings it is, and nobody's doing it in the morning. So I also like to not do what everybody else is doing. Everybody else does it so very well. I have nothing really to add to it, but nobody is doing a morning show like this. So um, here we are. This is also mornings because this is the time that I have to do something like this. Um, Here, although I don't mind, that's covering up my neck. That's not bad. Um, this is a live show, but this is the time that I have to do it. Not only am I a morning person, I work Monday through Friday for my husband, and I can guarantee that we will be done by 6:25 because that's when I have to grab my stuff and my dog, and we head to work. But the dog I have right now, he's an Akita. His name is Keo, and he is not a morning dog. I with my previous dogs, we would walk in the morning when it was cooler for all of us, and we can guarantee doing that walk. But Keo is not a morning dog. I try to get him to go for a walk in the morning. He's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? No." So I'm up anyway, and this is when uh, we are able to. I'm able to do this. So here we are. Um, and we're going to talk about books. What books do I read? I read a lot of different genres. My favorite, yeah, sorry guys, haircut next Saturday. Um, my favorite genre is mysteries, particularly historical mysteries. I really, really love historical mysteries. Um, my girls like to get up early in the morning, but they nap after they eat. Me, I'm not so lucky. Ugh, I love naps. I will take a nap if anybody will let me. I love that. I like to get up, do some things, take a nap, and so forth. Um, but I read mysteries, particularly historical mysteries, but I also like police procedurals. Not a big fan of domestic thrillers, but I do like spy thrillers. I'm reading one right now. But I also read sci fi fantasy. I also read romance. I also read nonfiction. What I really don't read a whole lot of is contemporary fiction. I like to have a quest, whether it is solving a crime, saving the world or kingdom, or getting the girl. Um, there has to be, a goal towards the end of what we are reading. Um, a lot of contemporary fiction is just so much angst and no point to it. So, I not my favorite. I'm not ruling it out. I'm such a mood reader that it could definitely, if it catches my fancy, mood reading. I will start a book. I will, if it doesn't strike, it's not the right time. It's not necessarily the author's fault. It's me and my mood reading. Um, yes. Now, Louise Penny. I love her early books, and I have several of her early books. And she writes a really good story. And I actually saw her live at a book convention. She's very um, fun to listen to, but her most recent books have gotten a little preachy for me, so I haven't kept up with the series. Um, but I love them. I love them. She's a good writer. Um, but along with needing a quest in my books, I also have, I'm such a strange person. I like sci-fi, but I don't like to read about aliens. I like to read about humans in space. I like fantasy, but I don't necessarily like dragons. So I know, you know, we're unique. We're snowflakes in a good way. Um, what you will find on this morning show is I like to know what books are coming out each week. I don't like reviews. Opinions about books are just that. They're opinions, and we're such different readers bringing our experiences that I don't really, form your own opinion. Um, oh, wouldn't that be pretty? Especially the bookstore, cafe. What's her name with the duck? She'd be hard to take probably, but maybe in small doses. I love that. Um, I know, isn't that just interesting? It's the books we experience, it's the life we experience, the way we're imprinted with our families and friends. It's just strange because there's things that I love that other people wouldn't love. Yes, yes. Wouldn't that be fun? Um, and if you, Mary, if you want to join how I got on to doing these reading sprints and so forth, there's a group called Killing Cozies, and I'll try to send you a link to the people who are involved in it. But you see people who just absolutely love cozy mysteries, and that's really all they read, or they just love police procedurals or thrillers because they like to be, uh, the adrenaline rush and so forth. But I have certain things that I look for. I love historical mysteries, and I really love all history up until the 1950s. And I prefer mysteries to be set not in the US, but mostly in the UK and other countries. Um, Again, I'm cutting off my chin. Ugh, we got to work on this. Um, but then and I love cold cases. But I know that Tiffany does not like cold cases, but I love cold cases. And um, I'm all over the place in what I read because there's so many things to experience. There's not enough time to read everything that I want to read and hear what people have to say and so forth. Um, And I love the historical mysteries because not only do I love history and learning about other things, and authors are pretty good about trying to, again, I got to work on this camera angle. Uh, yep, see my neck. Um, but also, I like the solving of a crime using the technology of the time, which is typically talking to people. And I like that kind of story as well, to pick up the pieces and stuff. I don't try to solve the mystery before the end of the book. But, things like fingerprints weren't even allowed in solving crimes until I think it was the 1940s. It's very recently that this kind of technology is used to solve crimes. So usually it was talking to people, and that, just like going to TV. Let's just jump all over the place here. On TV, Law and Order is such a great show because you're going from person to person, picking up evidence. You're not really getting a whole lot of their personal lives, which there's good stories that do that too. But it's so focused on, let's talk to this person. Here's an interesting person. Let's talk to them and get information from them, and so forth. And I love that aspect of reading crime shows like that too. Um, so, yep, I love mysteries, crime fiction. I love romance. Also, with the Killing Cozies group through Sarah the Bookish Knitter, I've come to get back into reading category romance. Um, and so I've introduced that back into my TBR. So it's, and that's why I want a show like this, is that as a book community, there are authors I've not even heard of. I want to know about them. And maybe people want to know about the authors that I know about. And I want to know more about what is coming out each week and the new authors. And maybe um, there's an author I like and I didn't realize they have a new book coming out. I want to know about that. I honestly don't care what your opinion is about a book because you have different experiences bringing into it. I want to know about that book and then form my own opinion. So that's hopefully what this show will be more about. Uh, Exploring what's out there each week and sharing what we're reading, so that maybe just like sharks, we're constantly feeding on new books and stuff. So that's basically why I'm hoping to do a show like this. Back in, I think it was 2010, I had tried to start a newsletter of what new releases were each month, and in crime fiction, I had called it Premeditated. I loved that newsletter, but it never really did catch on. Because it was a physical newsletter type of format, and we've gone so digital and technology even more so now. So that was an early attempt at trying to find out what's coming out new each month, each week. Um, Plus, YouTube is kind of neat. We're alone in our reading, but we're together in our community of sharing the love for books and what we're reading. So I'm going to try this format to see if we can do more of that, build that kind of community. Um, so, Mary, I wanted to ask you, how was your sprint last night? Did you like that experience? When I first encountered what sprints were, it was like, oh, that's kind of a neat thing, but it really focuses your reading. Oh, good deal. Thank you. Maybe I plugged it in correctly or something. I hope. I do hear my the water pump going, so if you hear a little boom every once in a while, we might be having some sprinklers going. Um, Once I started doing sprints, the number of books I've read this year is huge compared to previous years, because you just have this dedicated time to sit down and read. And you don't necessarily have to read during sprints. You can also be productive. You can work on whatever hobby you're doing. Um, Puns are okay. That's also okay in the morning. Humor, we need it. It's going to be a long day. I think it's such a neat idea. When I talk to people about it, they're like, "Do you read out loud?" No, we're just all together reading our own books, but it's dedicated time to do that. And we don't necessarily have that focus to do something we enjoy like that. Because when you're reading, a lot of times we're going, oh, I need to jump up and complete this task, or let me go do this. In, Instead, I shouldn't be doing something I like this because I have so much to do and I'm so tired or whatever. And it's just so nice to have that dedicated focus of the reading time. So I think it's a really neat idea, and I'm hoping to again to do more of those sprints. For me, that's more of an evening thing, or during the day. But morning like this, I just don't. Well, maybe at work, but I think the sprints are such a neat idea. So I'm glad you were able to join us. Um, that we each have our own book to read and are not reading the same book. Exactly. It's again, I'm a mood reader. I have never been one who can join book clubs, um, because I my taste is my taste. I don't want to have what I'm reading be dictated by other people. I'm just an independent little person here, and I think it's neat that people can discuss books, but I'm just not a joiner like that. That's just me. Other people love that. That's great. It's a great social thing to come. Um, again, woo, thinking was it that I remember a commercial? Was it for macaroni and cheese or something? Where the kid was on the stairs, and he says, "We sorry to interrupt your book club," and they're having like wine and food and stuff, but. That I love people who can do that. But that's not something that I can do. But I do love the idea that you're reading your own book. You can share what you're reading in the comments, and we can go, oh, I've never heard of that book. That's great. I'm going to check that out. But I love when we do this. When you read out loud, you better be a good reader. It is excruciating to listen to someone who can't read well out loud. Oh, I know. Um, and not just audiobooks. Again, I'm covering myself up. Um, for me, the in audiobooks, as we've mentioned before, is so important. The quality of the voice, the tone. I like a deeper voice. They have to be able to do all the different voices, uh, pitch wise, and accents. There are good performers out there, but I can't listen to a bad performer. But also, if you're just reading, say, a paragraph out loud, some people just don't read out loud well. And what you can read yourself to yourself, the words, you can kind of stumble over words and pronunciation of words and names and so forth. But when you're reading it out loud, it can be, you're just kind of going, oh, okay, that's not how that word is pronounced or whatever. So yeah, you have to be, and it takes practice. And even reading takes practice. I'm sorry, I'm being really chatty here today. Tomorrow we'll look at some more new releases. But reading is to yourself. Reading a book is something that you get better at the more you do. Um, and I have been reading a lot since I was a kid. My mom would take us to the library and the bookmobile and always had books and so forth. Yes, it is. Ooh, 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 shivers. Um, and my husband, Steve, did not grow up in a reading household. He is not a reader. Somehow I married a non-reader. I don't know how that happened. Um, but I love him because he's cute. Um, but he he does read occasionally, and he used to read at least one book a year when Tom Clancy was writing. But he doesn't do it often enough that when I read, I can read the words fairly quickly, and it's like a film creating pictures in my mind. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with reading slower, but that's just because either you're doing it slower because you're not in practice of it, or you're reading it more slowly because you're savoring each word and the pictures that the author is, as an artist, is creating. There's different ways to read, but again, it's like a skill that the more you do, the easier you're able to translate those images on a page to creating the pictures in your mind, which is just so amazing to me. But the more you do it, the more easy it is. The more easier I was going to say, bleh, grammar. Um, the better you get at it. It's like a muscle in your mind, translating images on a page into pictures in your mind, and then the comprehension of it. So Steve doesn't do that as easily, but he would do it more easily if he did it more frequently. But he is more of a visual images person rather than a printed page person, um, which is also fine. Do what makes you happy. Uh, I work, excuse me, I work for Steve, and have for the last 10 years since his dad passed away. And so we're with each other all day. So what I've always said is in the evenings or weekends, in that little time that you have to be happy, I'm very happy if he does what makes him happy and I do what I do that makes me happy, because your mental, physical, emotional health depends on you doing what makes you happy in your free time. So if I would never force him to do what I love, which is reading and the other crafts and stuff. But anyway, back to the sprinting thing. You don't necessarily have to read during those sprints. People do other things like being productive. I know people who do sprints all day are editing their content for YouTube or working on their crafts like crochet or knitting and so forth. So use sprints how you want to have some concentrated time doing what makes you happy. And then we check in every few minutes and go back to it. So that's another thing what I love about the reading sprints. Um, but because also back to tying it all in together, we've got about 2 minutes left before I have to head out to work. Being a mood reader and stuff, remember, you don't get good person points for reading something you're not enjoying. It's not an assignment. You're not having to write a book report. You just do what makes you happy. It's okay to put a book down. You don't have to finish it if it's not vibing with you. Um, Books are to be enjoyed. That's the sad thing about schools, is they teach you to read and then they teach you to hate reading. So there's something fundamentally wrong with that. And it's not that if the book is, you're not a bad person if you put it down. The author isn't necessarily a bad writer if you put it down. It's just not hitting you in that moment. So go to something that makes you happy. Sometimes it's just not the right time to read that book. Growing up, my grandma made wine. She made cherry wine and dandelion wine. And I remember sneaking down into the cellar and so let's take a sip of wine. Well, it wasn't its time. It was too early and it was bad. But later, the wine is good. And the same thing with books. Mary, I learned those lessons a long time ago. Time is precious. Don't waste it on stuff you don't like to do. Amen. That is life. You're not here to suffer. Um, so book reading is not an assignment. You're not getting good person points. Go forth and read and be happy. I need to sign off here this morning, but I want to thank you for showing up today. If you are showing up this morning, hit like if you liked it. Hit subscribe if you want to find out more. I'm doing this Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Mountain Time, and we'll be doing some reading sprints in the evenings, definitely Wednesday evenings. I'll be filling in on Saturday for Sarah the Bookish Knitter. She's not able to do her Saturday, so I'll probably do a reading sprint then. Go forth and have a great day. I'll see you at Thunder Horse Descendant, Mary. Um, and just have a good Thursday. Remember to choose love over fear and hate, and go read a good book. Bye, everybody. Much love.